This is CBN NewsWatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Wendy Griffith. Well, a major trial involving two pro-lifers in California. They're being sued by Planned Parenthood for an undercover video investigation into the sale of aborted baby body parts. CBN's Mark Martin has the latest, including the question that possibly changed the direction of the trial.
Planned Parenthood is suing the Center for Medical Progress over its undercover investigation. The video evidence allegedly shows Planned Parenthood officials discussing illegal practices regarding fetal tissue. The abortion giant has pushed the judge to keep jurors from seeing those videos. Buying and selling human fetal tissue is illegal in the United States. Federal regulations also prohibit anyone from altering the timing or method of an abortion for the sole purpose of later using the tissue in research. CMP investigators recorded Planned Parenthood officials talking about methods of obtaining organs from aborted babies.
So if we alter our process and we are able to obtain intact fetal cadavers, it's all just a matter of line items.
And laughing about how much money they can make.
We agreed that $100 would keep you happy.
I want a Lamborghini. I said I want a Lamborghini.
Don't we all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The American Center for Law and Justice is a part of CMP's defense legal team. Executive Director Jordan Sekulow says Planned Parenthood fought hard to keep the videos out of the courtroom, even convincing the judge to keep the jury from seeing them, until their attorneys made a fatal error.
Ultimately, Planned Parenthood made the fatal flaw of bringing up one of the defendants here to testify. She testified very clearly about why she did what she did, going undercover to expose potential criminal activity by Planned Parenthood.
That opened the door for the videos to be shown in court.
Everything changed when the jurors saw those videos and then had to hear not just from the defendants in the case who did the undercover investigative work, but they heard from the abortionists themselves about joking about making money or getting a Lamborghini from selling babies' body parts after the babies had been aborted.
Sekulow emphasizes the trial is also about free speech and protecting those who speak out on behalf of the unborn.
We also have to fight for pro-life speech. And this is one of those issues where you were fighting for just pro-life speech, for the ability to get out good investigative journalism, which is done all the time without issue, unless, of course, it's the abortion industry who you are trying to investigate, and suddenly the courts start treating them differently.
Sekulow says if the jury rules against the defendants, they could have to pay financial penalties in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. The trial is expected to continue into November, possibly wrapping up around Thanksgiving. Mark Martin, CBN News.
Thanks, Mark. Well, the old expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words, couldn't be more true than some of the images coming out of California in those horrific fires. But check out this one. A Chicago couple at their wedding in Sonoma County's wine country. Aren't they beautiful? Well, the orange hue in the background, that's not a sunset. That's from the fires. Photographer Karna Roa told reporters this is the 4th wedding that she's worked in 3 years where wildfires threatened weddings. All the best to the brave couple and their guests. Well, there are now reports of the wildfire surrounding the Ronald Reagan Library, and that's just part of the problem. The dangerous winds make conditions there much worse. As CBN's Heather Sells reports, millions are also facing intentional blackouts and power outages.
More than 25 million people in California and Arizona face red flag fire warnings today. The National Weather Service is trying to highlight the danger by calling it an extreme red flag warning.
Last time we saw conditions like this, hundreds of homes burned, acres were burned, and it ran clear to the west.
Across the state, firefighters are battling at least 11 wildfires. One of the biggest problems, hurricane-force winds, especially in Southern California. The National Weather Service says wind gusts could reach 80 miles an hour, the strongest wind event in years. Another problem, tinder dry brush and low humidity. That, plus the wind, can blow smoldering fires back to life and start new blazes.
We're at the time of year where we haven't seen any moisture in our fuel beds for an extended period of time. The fuels are critically dry. They are receptive to new fire as well as fire spread.
We now have video that shows how the Getty fire started near Los Angeles. This dash cam footage shows the moment the blaze broke out along the 405 freeway. Investigators say that high winds broke off a tree branch and it landed on power lines, igniting nearby brush. More than 9,000 people in Southern California are still under evacuation orders. And in Northern California, the state's largest utility has begun its third round of sweeping blackouts, hoping to prevent more fires from starting. 1.5 million people are without power there, and in Southern California, the local utility says it may cut power to more than 500,000. The worst fire danger from the winds is expected today and tomorrow, with conditions expected to ease after that. Heather Sells, CBN News.
Thanks, Heather. Well, California has almost 150 million dead trees in its wilderness. That's according to aerial assessments. And those dead trees provide cataclysmic fuel for sparking monster fires. So says Randy Thomason with SaveCalifornia.com. He blames the problem on politically correct environmental extremists who have the ear of California's Democratic leaders.
You can't blame the winds. You can't blame so-called climate change. That's a farce anyhow. You can blame the Democrat politicians because this is being done on their watch. If your house burns down in California, it's because the Democrat politicians didn't care to protect it.
Thomason says because of California's political climate, logging is severely restricted, and ironically, the extreme environmentalists are doing more harm than good by preventing forestry practices.
So they're just sitting around doing the bidding of the environmental wacko groups. And so, again, hire the loggers, tell them to give California a haircut and prevent forest fires. You know, Smokey the Bear had a saying years ago, you can prevent forest fires. Well, the Democrat leadership in California doesn't apparently believe that. California has so many trees. This is God's natural resource for the love of people. We ought to be using these trees as God intended. But instead, trees are being worshipped. God is being ignored. People are being hurt. Prices go up.
Well, in other news, Democrats are planning their next steps in the impeachment inquiry of Donald Trump. Meanwhile, another witness testified, Christopher Anderson, who worked for the former U.S. Special Envoy to Ukraine. He told members of Congress about a June meeting where former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton said he supported White House engagement with Ukraine, but warned about the role of Rudy Giuliani, President Donald Trump's personal lawyer, as a go-between with Ukraine. Democratic presidential candidate and socialist Bernie Sanders says if he's elected, he would take the military aid that the U.S. gives to Israel every year and instead give it to Gaza. Speaking to a pro-Palestinian group, he said, quote, "My solution is to say to Israel, you get $3.8 billion every year. If you want military aid, you're going to have to fundamentally change your relationship to the people of Gaza." In fact, I think it's fair to say that some of that should go right now into humanitarian aid. Well, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley criticized Sanders' proposal on Twitter, saying, quote, "Just when you thought Bernie Sanders couldn't get any more radical, he outdid himself. He wants to take money we give to Israel to defend itself from terrorists and give it to Gaza, which is run by terrorists. Unreal. Why isn't every other Democratic presidential candidate saying he's wrong?" Well, still no official word on the cause of death of Toby Max 21-year-old son Truett. As the family grieves, Toby and his wife Amanda started a foundation in his memory. It's called the Truett Foster Foundation, and according to the site, will help kids with music education. The foundation website says Truett had a grand personality and dreams to match. It also says dreams are so important to kids and many don't have the money to pursue them. And they're wanting to use the funds raised there to help kids. Well, several Christian and gospel artists are backing Kirk Franklin's boycott of the Dove Awards. Artists like Lecrae, Natalie Grant, Torrin Wells, Jeremy Camp, and Jamie Grace Harper are supporting him in posts on social media. Franklin made the decision after learning the Gospel Music Association removed his comments about social injustice and the killing of Atiana Jefferson, a black woman shot in her home by a white Fort Worth police officer. Franklin says his goal will forever be reconciliation as well as accountability regarding his boycott decision. And CBN's Ephraim Graham, the host of our entertainment program, Studio 5, joins me now with more. Welcome, Ephraim. Well, Kirk Franklin's stand and people's reaction to it, getting a lot of mixed reaction. What's your take?
Well, I'll tell you, it's one of the top 5 trending stories on Studio 5 this week. I want to take a look at how it all began.
After a meeting with the Devil Awards Committee and representatives of TBN, I've made the decision after prayer, consultation with my team, and my pastor, Dr. Tony Evans, to not attend any events affiliated with or for the Devil Awards, Gospel Music Association, or TBN until tangible plans are put in place to protect and champion diversity.
That's gospel music's Kirk Franklin making headlines and voicing disappointment. This part of his acceptance speech was edited from the Dove Awards broadcast.
This past weekend, a young 28-year-old lady, young girl by the name of Tatiana Jefferson, was shot and killed in her home by a policeman. And I'm just asking that we send up prayers for her family and for his.
Organizers issued this apology, accepting responsibility for the error, understanding it wounded Franklin and many in the African-American community. As we noted, many celebrities chose to join Franklin's protest, including rapper Lecrae, and those who follow him, it is no surprise to them. We've spoken with Lecrae before about why he speaks out on issues of race. Take a look. One of the things I applaud you for doing is being so outspoken and vocal when it comes to racial issues. But you take a lot of heat. Does that bother you?
I think whenever you stand up for what's right, whenever you stand up for what you firmly believe in, you're going to take some shots, right? And so that's the nature of it. Our Savior was crucified for standing up for truth and for laying his life down for others. And I think blessed are those who are persecuted, you know what I mean? And so I look at it from that perspective, to just love people in spite of it all, and to show people what a picture of unity can look like, a picture of, human dignity and love and peace can look like, despite all of that.
Does it hurt when Christians attack like that?
Of course, yeah, of course. You know, it never feels good, especially coming from Christians.
As we reported earlier, artists like Natalie Grant, Torrin Wells, Jerry McCamp, and Jamie Grace Harper also sounded support for Kirk Franklin on social media. And the hope is that this is the beginning step of a road to racial reconciliation, healing, and unity. Wendy?
Absolutely. Well, Ephraim, of course, the Dove Awards are pre-recorded. Do you think they'll put Franklin's remarks back in?
The good news is they have given his remarks to him in its entirety for him to post. They've also reposted the show, TBN has, so you can watch the entire unedited show. But of course, this is a horrible misstep for them. Kirk Franklin disappointed. And the other thing is this isn't the first time it's happened to him. It's happened before. So that's one of the reasons he's also upset.
I mean, why would they even care? I mean, I don't get it.
The thought is, they said that it was just they needed to edit down the show. So they say it's accidental, but at the same time, we also know that for many watching, they could have felt like, okay, this may be divisive, so let's take it out. But there needs to be a conversation. Kirk Franklin would certainly like that. He's talked to the Dove Awards as well as TBN, but so far, no satisfactory answer in terms of where we go from here.
Ironically, he may be getting more publicity and more for his remarks and his stance than if it had aired in the show with no problems whatsoever.
Absolutely.
So we'll have to, just wait and see how they handle it. But
absolutely.
Great reporting. Thanks so much, Ephraim. Well, coming up, an amazing archaeological find in the Holy Land dating back to biblical times in the early church. We'll show you more when Newswatch continues.
To have sex before you're married is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on The Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Israeli archaeologists uncovered an impressive church dating from early Christianity not far from Jerusalem. Thousands of youth from around Israel helped to excavate this well-preserved find. CBN Middle East correspondent Julie Stahl has the story.
The 1,500-year-old church is about 28 miles from Jerusalem. Archaeologists found it during a salvage excavation before expanding the community of Ramat Bet Shemesh. Israel Antiquities Authority Excavation Director Benjamin Storchin explains.
We've been uncovering amazing remains of a Byzantine church complex. The church covers an area of about 1.5 dunams. It includes typical Byzantine architectural elements, a basilical church, a narthex, courtyard or atrium with subsidiary side rooms.
Storchin says early Christians built the huge church in the 6th century AD during the reign of the Emperor Justinian and later expanded it. They decorated the church with spectacular mosaics, frescoes, and Greek inscriptions.
This church by far surpasses most of them by its size, its preservation, and its association to a martyr.
An inscription says the Christians dedicated the church to a glorious martyr. The identity of the martyr is unknown, but due to the grandeur of the church, archaeologists say the martyr was likely an important person.
We have now descended into the subterranean crypt located below the bema of the church.
A separate entrance and exit allowed groups of pilgrims to pass by the crypt easily.
This is the reliquary niche. You have to reconstruct here that there would have been a marble chancel screen to mark off the sanctified area from the assembly hall. And here would have been placed the relics that were kept in the church.
Some 5,000 youth from around Israel excavated the site.
It's super fun. I really like working with my hands. And when we come here, the whole group, we really get to bond. We get to see stuff that we wouldn't get a chance to see if it weren't for here.
While excavating here, we found something like 300 clay oil lamps that are dated to the Abbasid period.
Artifacts from the excavation are on display at the Bible Lands Museum in Jerusalem. Julie Stahl, CBN News, Jerusalem.
Still ahead, one of the Houston Astros superstars talks about his passion for the game and the source of his passion in life.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the Home Front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
The Washington Nationals beat the Houston Astros 7-2 last night in Game 6 of the World Series. Tied at 3-3 in the series, both teams are hoping to pull out the win tonight in Houston. One key player for the Astros is Jose Altuve. Our Sean Brown sat down with him to talk about the game and what fuels his passion for it, his family, and life.
He's a six-time All-Star, a three-time batting champion, the reigning American League MVP, and a World Series champion. But that's not what's most impressive. Standing 5'6", Houston Astros' Jose Altuve is the smallest player in Major League Baseball.
You don't think of your size as a negative at all, do you?
No, I'm really happy that I'm 5'6" and I can play ball.
Wow, why you say that?
Because.
The average height of a major leaguer is roughly 6 feet. So when Jose blasted his way into the majors in 2011, he rocked the baseball world with a smile.
Just the fact of waking up every day, having my family, and you know, having the opportunity to come to the ballpark and do what I love to do as my job.
When Jose was 16 years old, baseball scouts told him he was too small to play professionally.
But the big boss was there at that time, and he just decided to let me join the organization.
The big boss he's referring to is then Houston Astros assistant Al Padrique, who noticed Jose's drive and passion for the game.
I remember he saying something that, okay, he really enjoyed playing baseball, and that is better than having all these tools, because you really want to see inside the player and really want to find out if he want to play or not. And he thought about me maybe having the right attitude to go out there and play.
Jose signed with the Astros organization in 2007. 4 years later, he was called up to the big leagues.
But I really wanted to do it, and if God gave me the ability to play, it was because He wanted me to go all the way through. I still look around and I thank God for everything, because sometimes it's hard to believe that what you dream as a kid is real life now.
By 2012, the little giant was an all-star. So how does he do it? How does someone who's not supposed to be able to play in the majors compete consistently every day? Well, Jose's answer is simple: prayer.
Before I leave my house every single day, I ask God for help, for my family and for me. And then when I'm about to play the game, I just pray and I ask God to keep every single player and every single people understand healthy, and that we just can go out there and compete in the good way.
In 2017, Jose helped the Astros win their first World Series championship in franchise history. He's making sure to keep his priorities in order, with baseball holding the third spot, behind his family at second and his faith in Christ at first, which he says helps him bring everything home and in order.
And I always gonna believe in that, because I grew up knowing He went to the cross for us. He died for us. My faith in him and my love for him is just not worry about these little things. He's just worry about my faith in him, and that way he's gonna put in order everything around me.
Coming up, a peek at a highly anticipated movie about the Underground Railroad's Harriet Tubman.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Millsburg Falls man, come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes too, and so much more. Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Her name is synonymous with abolition. Harriet Tubman, a slave who made her way to freedom on the Underground Railroad and ultimately took many more with her. Well, now her story is being told like never before on the big screen. It's an incredible journey of faith for the former slave who never learned to read or write, but helped lead dozens to freedom.
Seeing your film, reading more about her, it still stuns me that she was illiterate.
Yeah, and remained illiterate. Yeah, she never learned. She said she didn't have a talent for it. But also she had a more important communication, you know. Yeah, she knew things without having to read them. But, I mean, it just seems incredibly inconvenient to us now.
Wow, well, you can catch Ephraim's full story on the movie Harriet tonight on Studio 5. That's right here on the CBN News Channel at 9:30 Eastern. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Remember, you can find more of our news programs on the CBN News Channel anytime or online with cbnnews.com. Also, tell us what you think about the stories you've seen today by emailing us at newswatch@cbn.com. We hope you'll join us next time. I'll be here tomorrow. Have a great day, and as always, God bless you.